WIFO FM Jesup. It is now time for the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO, and it's brought to you by First Southern Bank, Van's Barbecue, Murphy Builder Supply, and O'Quinn & Associates.
Hi, I'm Mandy Yeomans.
And I'm Raymond Brown with First Southern Bank. As your locally owned community bank, we're here to help our community grow. Our customers are why we are here. You can tell we want your business.
We offer all types of deposit products, personal and business. We have fast, efficient service, and yes, we have online banking too. I'm sure we have an account to fit your needs. Stop by or call us at 912-588-1010 and see how First Southern Bank can help you.
We're FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
When it comes to barbecue, Van's Barbecue in Jesup is the place to be. A small family-owned business located at 1876 on the Savannah Highway. Van's Barbecue has lunch and dinner special. Stop by or call to make an order. The number to call, 427-3358. Van's Barbecue's new manager is Sarah Van. Van's Barbecue offers potato salad, coleslaw, baked beans, and don't forget their delicious mac and cheese. Also, check out their shrimp plates, the best in town. Yes, when it comes to barbecue, head to Van's Barbecue, locally owned and operated. Stop by and tell them the Big Dog sent you. Once again, the number to order, 427-3358.
Since 1946, Murphy's Builder Supply has been serving the folks of Jesup, Wayne, and surrounding counties with quality products and knowledgeable service. Matter of fact, they feel they sell service first to make sure you get exactly what you need for your home improvement projects. And with each employee at Murphy's being there for 10 years or more, you know you're talking with someone with the experience to help you with building supplies, tools, paint, and all the things you need from a full-service hardware store. The best choice in home improvement is Murphy's Builder Supply, 156 Northeast Broad Street, Jesup.
Are you looking for an insurance company that you can call and talk to a live person? Are you looking for an insurance company where you can walk in and talk to an agent? Are you looking for an insurance company that offers multiple companies so they can try and get you the best rate? If you said yes to any of these, then you need to call or come by O'Quinn & Associates Insurance Financial Services. We offer multiple companies so we can find the best fit for you. Give us a call at 385-1000 or stop by our office at 212 South First Street right here in Jesup.
The following is an exclusive presentation of Jesup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
World-famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO, 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio. And Bob, time to head back up to Love It again today.
Yeah, big game. Hope the weatherman cooperates, but we'll play it by ear. But beautiful facility, nice high school, costs $36,000 a year to go to that school. So,
a private high school in the state of Georgia costs $36,000 a year to go to.
That's what the tuition is, $36,000 a year to go to that high school.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Amazing.
They got money. When you get off West Paces Ferry Road, all you see is money everywhere.
You can see those money trees just hanging. You just reach out there and grab some hundreds and 20s. Is that right?
This stadium was, I mean, you talk about a nice stadium. Colleges don't have stadiums this nice like that. So they got a bunch of state champions. They've won about,
money can buy some state
about
champions,
11 in the last 20 years. And they played for it last year and got beat in the final, so they would have won another one. But I think Wayne County's got a good shot today. I said they don't have much pitching left, so we're always ready for a 3-game series, so hopefully Wayne County can win.
All right, we'll see. We'll have the game for you right here on 105.5 FM. We'll also stream it live down our website at bigdogcountry.com. Click on live stream. And also you can go to our go to YouTube, and we'll have it on there too, because we've had so many people that have tried to listen to it on live stream. I guess the band is only so wide and only so many people can listen, so our tech guy our tech guy has now made it where you can go to our YouTube page and listen to it there, and it's got a lot more bandwidth. So you can do it 3 ways: 105.5 FM, bigdogcountry.com, click on live stream, or go to our YouTube, which is on our website, and just go down to it and click on it, and it'll be right there. Okay? Well, Bob, we got a guest in this morning. Who do we have?
We got Chairman of the County Commission, Kevin McCrary, in the studios with us. I'm glad he's here. He's been on several times, and Kevin, I always enjoy having you on the show. Like I said, I really believe your heart's in the best place. I think you want what's best for Wayne County. But first question I want to ask you, all the times you've been on the show, have you ever been treated unfairly?
No.
Yeah, okay. So
no,
we'll just look for a cordial conversation, but got to start with this written reprimand that Richard Johnson got. I went by the county office and got this policy. It's the Wayne County, Georgia social media policy, and right then it tells us it doesn't have anything to do with us. We're not social media. Richard Johnson been working for 20 years in EMS. He comes on the show. He just like Donnie Ray comes on the show, like Lamar Eccles comes on the show for the rec department.
Like the sheriff comes on, the judges, other people from the county for the last 25 years.
Why do you get written? Why don't you just rescind the written reprimand? Had nothing to do with this. Isn't social media.
Not a thing.
First, am I going to be treated unfairly this time?
No, we just want the facts. We just
right.
want the facts because all the comments and text message we have received in has lambasted it.
You lone wolf, now you.
That's right.
I mean, I think we get along. I mean, like I said, and I really think your heart's in the best place. But several things I've seen the last several months, I just shaking my head, and this is one of them.
When you hear one side of the story, it's hard to get the total perspective of what's going on. I know when you started out on the interviews or when you were talking about it on the radio, you were saying that Buddy Carter was coming on. He was he may be reprimanded for coming on.
No, that was the governor.
The governor,
and that was just teasing and kidding.
That's right. But I mean, it's obvious when you have not read the policy and procedure, those things. These policies and procedures, state laws, whatever they are.
I've read this policy 5 times. It's a 5-page policy.
It's social media. We are not social media. We only had him on here to ask him what the rapid response person did. Bob asked him to come on there. He didn't ask him to try to explain it to us what the rapid response person was. And it was just like we have Speck in here, the sheriff in here, Donnie Ray in here. It's just asking them questions to inform our listeners. That's what it was about. And for a county employee to be reprimanded for giving the facts to our listeners is something that Bob and I don't understand. It's never happened before in 25 years. We are not social media. He wasn't here to give his opinions about the county and the way it was run. He was here just to ask our questions about what the rapid response person did because no one seemed to know the facts about what that person does, and that's what he did.
Well, just like I said, when you don't know the whole story, part of the information, and I don't want to get into personnel, but I will tell you that this policy was written to protect the county so that no information was given out to adversely affect the efficiency or the effectiveness.
But we're not social media. We are not social media. We're news. It'd be the same thing if he gave if the newspaper went to him and asked him a question about what does the rapid response person did. That's what we did here.
Is YouTube social media? Is Facebook social media?
No, the Butch and Bob show is not social media. Social media is different than what WIFO, WLOP is and what the newspaper is and what a TV station is. We may use social media, but we don't.
I'll ask it again. Is YouTube social media?
I don't know. Is it?
It's part of this policy, and it says YouTube specifically and Facebook.
But he didn't come on YouTube. He came on WIFO.
But it was put on YouTube, and that's the reason. This is not.
Oh, you've got to be kidding me! Do you know how many employees that we've had on here the last few years that every single one of them for the last few years have been put on, and none of them have been written up? Not a one.
When you leak out information,
what did he leak out?
I'm not going to get into that. But when you leak out,
so is every employee now, the text message we receive, every employee there seems like the county is now afraid to come on the Butch and Bob show because they may be reprimanded?
Well, what you have to look at is the information that they are privy to. These employees have information that other people don't.
So what did he say that was against policy?
I'm not going to get into that.
So y'all not going to say what he did? You're just going to say he did something, but we're not going to say.
We are in litigation.
With him?
No, with a lawsuit. And you cannot.
Lawsuit was put out chapter and verse in the newspaper. Everybody knows what the lawsuit's about. He didn't even talk about the lawsuit. All he said about the lawsuit is we don't want another lawsuit. And like we said, what we want is when somebody picks up a phone and calls 911, we want an ambulance to be able to come and get you to.
I don't want to get hostile on the radio.
I'm just saying.
I'm just telling
what
you.
You're talking about is just garbage. You're not even backing up your own position. This is not social media.
Policy and procedures.
So if he would have come on there and said Kevin McCrary is the greatest commissioner in the world and he's right for getting rid of this position, does he get reprimanded then? He didn't get reprimanded for coming on the show. He got reprimanded because you didn't like what he said on the show. Let's just be honest about it.
What you mean what he said? Exactly.
What did he say?
You can't say anything when we are in litigation that will
All he did
affect
was
the
explain was a rapid
community,
response position.
are you going to let me talk?
Go ahead and talk.
Go ahead and talk.
Get
Please.
You're not doing a good job of explaining your position. I can promise you that.
Well, the position is we have a social media policy.
Exactly, and we told you time and time again, this is not social media. We're WIFO FM. We've got a Butch
We were
and
not
Bob show that's been on
interacting with
25
anyone
years.
on
It's not
social media.
This whole policy is all social media.
Social
Which I
media is
understand,
is
but we're not social
interacting.
media, so he didn't violate any policy.
Read it.
I've read
Read
it
the
5 times. It's so.
Well,
look at the beginning. Let's leave it to the Wayne County social media policy. Purpose of intent of this policy is to establish guidelines for employees to engage in social media activity as defined herein. We are not social media. What part of that don't you understand?
What part do you don't understand? Anything that adversely affects the efficiency and effectiveness of Wayne County operations.
Say what he said.
When
Tell us
you
what
are,
he said.
he adversely say?
I'm not going to add to that.
Why? That's what people
you
wanna
should
know.
it if you read this and followed it.
I've read
you
it
were
5
in the
times.
work session.
This is a social media policy. We're not
if
social
we
media.
don't-
What part of that don't you understand? What part can't?
Social media policy was put in place to not only to protect the employees, but also to protect the citizens, because if we have a lawsuit going on and an employee knows more about that situation and they indulge in conversation, whether on social media or with other people, giving out information, that's why we have executive session, because we go into executive session to talk about personnel litigation and land acquisition. So this information is not given out. I understand y'all are upset, but I don't understand
Why? Because one of our guests was.
At what time in a person's career do we stop holding them accountable for ordinances, policies, procedures, codes, state laws, and employee handbooks? We have to keep this, and the policies, we have to keep up with.
Well,
the
does
policies.
Richard know what he said that got him reprimanded?
Sure, he does.
He does.
Yes, he does.
The rest of us don't.
Well, it was because he violated social media policy. That's exactly what it is. We don't get it. It's for the employees. I don't want to get into talking about.
Let's get into meat and potatoes. Who puts on the agenda to get rid of a position in a person's department without first talking with the person running the department? You want to consider firing a chief deputy from the sheriff's department without talking to the sheriff? Why in the world? You put this on the agenda several months ago and didn't even talk to Richard Johnson. Why? Tell me, explain that.
Who said to fire or get rid of?
It says to remove the rapid response position.
No, it does not. It says consider and approve.
Removal of the position. It says
consider and approve.
The removal of the position.
No.
Yes, it's on the agenda. I'll get the agenda. It says it right there on the agenda. I've read it several times. Consider and approve removal of the rapid response position. So the reason we had Richard on it was to explain what the rapid response position is. Who puts it on the agenda several months without even talking to Richard Johnson? Richard says, I've talked to Richard extensively. He said this is nothing but a witch hunt. You want him gone. You want to replace him with Daniel Royal. That's what he tells me. That's what I've talked to other EMTs. Is that true or not true?
Well, I would watch where you get your information from, because when we started this and you and I
my
were
information
talking,
from Richard Johnson, the guy we had on the show.
Well, exactly. You're getting half a story. You're not getting the whole story.
You're not trying to get rid of Richard Johnson?
It was no. Richard does an excellent job. What we are trying to do is, when he came on the radio, he spoke about the increased number of calls, and I don't know if you were at the work session or not, but we had discussed that
I was at the work
this
session.
position. Do what?
I was at the work session.
Oh, well, you should have heard it then, because we were on there and we were talking about the roles of the Deputy Chief Rapid Response, and we created this position to try to get the response time down for when somebody calls 911. That's the ultimate goal, is when somebody calls 911, we have somebody on the way, whether it's an ambulance or a rapid response that can get there and stabilize that patient until an ambulance can get there if they need to be transferred. The rapid response cannot do that. When we created this position, we did not realize that the deputy chief portion of this position was going to be so overwhelming. When we saw the numbers and saw how few times they were able to go out on rapid response rapid response calls, we looked at the position to see what we needed to do. It was never to cut the position and we may remove the position. We may change the position up so that they can we can put a paramedic on that truck. So at the time of the meeting, the work session, they had been on 4 calls. The rapid response had been on 4 calls, and that was in April, I believe it was. That's not very many calls, so that's letting you know that the deputy chief position of that portion of that position was taking up more time, and the person was unable to handle those calls. What we're looking at is trying to either lighten up some of the load on the deputy chief, which that can't be done because the EMS chief needs help in that position. Everything I've heard, they're doing a phenomenal job in trying to fix some of these problems. That's why this job was created. That was the decision that was going to be made, whether we need to put a paramedic in that position, and now they're looking at putting a BLS truck, basic life support, so that we can have that. A lot of the calls that we are getting are non-emergent calls. A BLS truck can handle that. We may put both of them in there. The bottom line is what we're trying to do is to get it to where when you dial 911, you are assured that somebody's on the way.
Do we have that currently?
Do we have what?
Just what you said. When somebody picks up the phone and dials 911, an ambulance is going to come and get them where they need to be. Do we have that coverage currently in Wayne County?
Yes. What we did is we had 2 years ago, we approved for another 24-hour truck. At the current time, we had a truck and a half, which was a 12-hour day truck and a 24-hour truck. And we had approved, the previous commission had approved at the price of $230,000 to add on another truck. At that time, it should have been implemented, and it was not implemented. We have spoken with the EMS director, and it was not put in the budget. I don't know why it was not put in the budget. They had added a half a truck, so currently we are adding another half a truck, so that'll give us 2.5 trucks, and also we're looking at possibly a BLS truck will handle non-emergent calls, which would be transfers and things like that, and most of those are local transfers. And if we had a non-emergent call, that truck could go on that and free up the ALS truck so that they could focus more on those calls.
One final question about the policy. I said Richard Johnson's been there 17, almost 20 years, never had a written reprimand in his life. And he gets written up because he comes on a WIFO with them, Butch and Bob show. You're not going to reconsider rescinding that?
Rescinding what?
The written reprimand.
No. We have a policy.
But you won't tell us what he did to violate the policy.
Yes, he spoke about the litigation that we had.
He didn't talk about the litigation.
Yes, he did.
No, he did not. The only thing he said is he doesn't want another lawsuit.
Well,
that's all he said. Go back and listen to the show. Listen to it 3 times over the weekend.
Read the social media
It's a
policy.
social media. That's what we said. It's not social media. This is not social media. What don't you understand? We're not social media.
20 years ago, we did not have all of this to where people could comment and things like that. If we don't take care of the taxpayers by keeping certain information getting out, whether it's on the radio or social media or wherever, YouTube, when it's posted out there, you change the effectiveness of the county. And when you let that information out, I know y'all I can see it in y'all's eyes. Y'all hot and aggravated about this, but I don't care what it's about.
Because we don't want our guests intimidated.
Well, you're intimidating me. But to me, it's sad that all the good things that y'all do for this county, y'all promote church functions, social events, birthdays, and all of that. But you get half the story and you come on. And I understand. You don't understand. You don't get why he was written up. But there was justification for that procedure because we have a social media policy in place, and it's all about accountability. We are going to hold everybody, it doesn't matter who it is, accountable to whatever policies and procedures, regardless of how long they've been in office or whatever. You're held to a different standard when you're a county employee. They're doing a phenomenal job, all of them. But they are expected to be held to these policies and procedures. We have a seatbelt policy. If they don't have their seatbelt on, there's certain ramifications for doing that. It doesn't matter what it is. It's called accountability to protect the county and the citizens and the employees.
Well, perhaps maybe Bob and I just don't understand. We were here. He was interviewed. He was asked to come on here to explain what the rapid response person does. He did. He basically also stated the fact, and what you're saying here is a fact, and Bob's saying is, we want to get in a position where we're not in a lawsuit against. We want to be prepared, and that's all that we know of what he said. With that, I know we've had people text in that said there's more in the newspaper article than was on the Butch and Bob show. There was more said in the county meeting than was said on the Butch and Bob show. He came in at our request to answer a question about what the rapid response person does. And all he said was the fact that he wanted to that in his opinion that he didn't want the situation where we would be in a lawsuit again because a person couldn't be responded to quickly. So he wants to make sure, like all of us do, the fact that when we need an ambulance, we need rapid response or whatever the case may be, we can get that type of care. And that's all he said about it, was the fact that he wants to make sure that doesn't happen again. Would like to make sure that doesn't happen again by, trying to do the best we can to keep the rapid response, the ambulances, everything there. We all have the same goal. He has the same goal, Bob, you, me, everybody, that when something happens and we need an ambulance or a EMT or a rapid response person or someone like that to come take care of us, they're there. If I felt in any type of way as being a business owner, okay, and that he said anything that was to be reprimanded for it, I'd say, yeah, you're right, Kevin. But all that stuff was said before in the meetings, newspaper articles, You're basically saying right now that they almost have to go through a process to be on the show with us.
I didn't say it. The policy says it. The policy's been out there for a while. The policy was given to all the employees. And it specifically says right here, you have to have authorization in advance by the Wayne County Administrator and or elected officials pertaining to their respective functions.
So you mean to tell me when we get Speck to come on here, the sheriff to come on here, Donnie Ray to come on here, one of the judges to come on here, they're going to have to get y'all's permission to come on the Butch and Bob show?
That's what the policy says.
But we're not social media.
That's a social media policy.
You're on YouTube. I mean, it specifically says right here, for purposes of policies, the term social media is defined as online technologies through which employees and other individuals engage in social media activity.
He didn't engage in social media. We posted the Butch and Bob show on there. That's different.
Are we going to talk one at a time or what? MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube, all of these are part of it. When you put that on there, this is why the policy was created. And it's created to protect the citizens of Wayne County, the taxpayers, so that when they come in, we will be able to keep them. The lawsuits, when you talk about litigation, that's why we have executive sessions, so that these things are not brought out in the public and misconstrued by somebody's opinion and information given out that will actually hurt the citizens, because we do have insurance and the insurance would pay for a lawsuit, but then the premium goes up and ultimately the taxpayer has to pay for it. That's why we have these policies in place. Everybody may not understand them, but I can assure you it was justifiable.
I understand it. It's just like if I went and got a spokesperson from a major corporation, they'd have to have, that permission and stuff like that. But we're talking about what the traditions and history have been between the Butch and Bob show, not social media, the Butch and Bob show. Do they want to have permission to answer questions to the newspaper when they interview any of these people for the county? Are they going to have the article sent from the newspaper to y'all for y'all to approve their answers to that? Because eventually it's going to be put on the Press Sentinel social page. Okay? That, if you look at the Press Sentinel, they print their article, they print their newspapers and have it where you can go on social media and look at it. And just like we do, just like our local news, we record our local news, local sports, and then we put it on our website. It happens to be you have to use YouTube to be able to look at it, but it's not interactive. It's just a historical a segment of what was on our radio station. It's not social media. And the same thing with the newspaper and stuff like that. It's just that is there going to be a big censure of employees of Wayne County having to worry about anything they say to the radio station, to the newspaper?
That has always been a standard. When I came out of executive session, when we were talking about when we had gotten through interviewing the administrators, the first question Bob asked me when I came out is, who's going to be the new administrator? Is that not correct, Bob? And I did not tell him because when we have certain guidelines that we go through, if we don't adhere to those, it can affect the county, and that's what we're trying to avoid. We don't want employees, even elected officials. You're supposed to use common sense and guidelines and policies to restrict what you say, whether it's in public or wherever. The negative effect that this conversation has had, things that Drew writes in the paper, you get half the story. This all adversely affects the county governing body from being able to proceed in certain directions that we want to go. We have a brand new industrial park that we're trying to create now. We're trying to get industries in here. They all come. They'll go to YouTube and listen to y'all's podcast and things like that. They read the newspaper to see what kind of dissension there is in the community, whether they want to be a part of it. They want to be in a positive community, and I think that's what we have. But I think the news media portions of what they're bringing out is all negative, and that is a direct effect on how we're trying to go in the direction we're trying to go.
Bob, do you think that all the guests we have on the Butch and Bob show talk negatively about the county or the city?
I didn't say all.
Look, we're just going to have
majority.
We're going to have to agree to disagree on this, but I disagree emphatically. Like I said, that's a social media policy that you say you violate. This isn't social media. But I want to get to other topics. You met the county administrator. That was the worst kept secret in America anyway. But you went down there and changed the qualifications without notifying the other commissioners, because the qualifications you had, the current administrator wouldn't have been qualified. So what gave you the right to go down and just change the qualifications for the county administrator without telling anybody else?
Well, first of all, that was posted incorrectly in the newspaper because it said halfway through. It was days before we only had 2 applicants. At the time, I had already had several calls from other people, other administrators and past managers, and some of them were current administrators in other counties that wanted to apply, and there was some concern about the way that it was posted on what the qualifications were. And at the bottom, if you remember, it said, we will look at all applicants. It doesn't matter what your qualifications are. We will consider anybody who applies, and a lot of them did not apply because we had master's degree. It's not fair to those 2. After we get down to 3 names, the names are to be put out. To me, it's not fair for those 2 names to be put out and us to them to be put out before we even get to interview them. And when we changed it, we got 6 more applicants. We were able to go through the interviews.
You said we changed it. That's the problem. That's the point. We didn't change it. You changed it.
That's exactly right.
What gives you the power to do that?
I guess because I'm the chairman.
You don't have to notify the other commissioners?
I notified some of the commissioners.
You didn't notify all the commissioners.
It was at
Thomas made that clear at the meeting. You didn't notify him. Tim Hopkins says he wasn't notified.
Well, sometimes you have to make a decision on the spur of the moment. Had we not made the decision, it would have been at that time. It would not have been able to run in the paper, and we have to notify the paper of any changes or whatever, so that we would not have to wait weeks on end to start the process all over again.
Let's go to another topic. Let's talk about the well. I want you to explain this. Commissioner Tim Hopkins makes a motion in a meeting to repair the well, $9,000. Gets a second. You step in and say, nope, didn't follow protocol, must be advertised, go through a process. So Commissioner Tim Hopkins rescinds his motion, makes the motion do exactly what you tell him to do, and advertise it, and you and Jamie Hickox and Mike Gordon vote against his motion to do exactly what you told him to do. Why would you do that? Whose well is it? Everybody says it's the county's well. Are we going to fix the well? Where do we stand on the well?
Now, that's a touchy subject, Bob. The well, with the authority that we have down there is specifically says in the contract that they are to keep up the maintenance down there. They use the well 95% of the time. The only other time the well is used, and at that time the well is not used as a community well, the authority is the only one, and it specifically says, or the authority is the only one that uses that in the community well capacity, meaning that they have more than 14 hookups to it, and they supply water to the campground and the bait shop down below. It specifically says that the well is put in into their portion, and they are to keep up with the maintenance on that well. And all other aspects. If the air conditioner goes down there, the whole reason that authority was created was to take the burden off of the taxpayers. We put in over $100,000 within months just to get it operational. You know, originally we had it where we were going to get a concessionaire to go down there and work and provide services just like all the other services we provide in Wayne County, but to provide bait and a camping area down there so that people could go and enjoy that area. That was never implemented, even though we had a 5-0 vote to get a concessionaire down there. So we created the authority. We had a $200,000 grant to put in a walkway down there. We redid the bait shop so that it is fully functional. We redid the campground, bathrooms, and the gazebos, and a shelter down there so that they would be able to come in and basically run the business as is. They would not have any burdens. They've been in business down there making money off the campsites and the concessionaire, and that's taken the burden off. There was a bad contract to start with, and now it's getting to the point where the taxpayers don't have to pay for it, but we still have services that we provide down there, campground and bait shop, and I think it's running very well, and it's at the point to where you sign a contract, you're accountable for it, and you say you're going to handle the maintenance. That's part of the maintenance.
Well, Lindsey Thomas and Mickey Thomas, that authority came to the meeting. They said that's not their well. It's not their responsibility. So they're just mistaken, or you don't believe them?
Well, if you use the well, it's your well. It's a portion. It's actually three different. You have the young farmers, tourism, and the authority. All three of them use that well, and we had worked on a contract to get all three of them to sign the contract so that they would all have a portion in that well, and they are currently working on that contract to be able to split the cost of that well proportionately to how much they use the well.
We got one final question, one final topic. Are you, for economic growth in Wayne County, there's some concern with the IDA. There's several projects in the works, and they want to make sure the county's on board with the funding.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I said there's some concern with the IDA and several projects in the works. They want to make sure the county's on board with the funding. Are you for economic growth, or is the county going to fund these projects that are in the works? I
definitely am for IDA growth. We, matter of fact, we have the county down there working on portions of the road. They're stumping Industry is a very important portion to Wayne County. A lot of people don't understand that the taxes that a citizen pays versus the taxes that an industry pays. When you receive tax money, it's the proportions are set up so that when you have an industry, they don't require a lot of services. I'll use, some of the bigger companies, we never go out and pave their roads. We don't handle their trash. We don't do any of that. Very seldom do they have police calls. But when you have citizens, all of those utilize those services, so it costs taxpayers more. If we have more industry in here, we would be able to utilize that tax money better, and it makes us to be able to provide the services for the citizens more than we are now. If you only had citizens here, you would not be able to function because the tax money would not be there and the taxes would be so high. And that's the whole reason that we were for the social, I hate to bring this up again, but for the social media policy is to protect the interests of the taxpayers.
Well, Kevin, I appreciate you coming in. Like I said, you're always welcome, but we're going to have to agree to disagree on that policy. Like I said, I feel bad because I personally invited Richard Johnson to the program to explain what the rapid response position is. That's exactly what he did and got written up for it. Never been written up in 20 years. I personally think you should rescind the reprimand. It's no different than Donnie Ray coming on and talking about Emergency Management Agency. It's no different than Spec Eccles coming on and talking about recreation. No different than Tammy Thornton coming in and talking about the courts, how you vote and things like that, the precincts. I just think it's a bogus reprimand. That's my personal opinion. I'll stick to it. Like I said, we have to agree to disagree, but I do appreciate you coming on. You're always welcome. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in, Kevin. We would just agree to disagree. We don't think anything was done wrong. Apparently the county commissioners do, and the county administrator thinks he did wrong, and we just have to go from there.
And we have a personnel or a social media
We're not
policy.
social media. Our news and sports and Butch and Bob is recorded and posted on YouTube so people can listen to it if they're not able to listen to it live, okay? It's not an interactive social thing, okay? It is just something that's posted on there. Every new radio station does it. Every newspaper does it. Every television station does it. They record and they post on there.
How about the text messages that pop up on your screen? Is that not interactive?
But that's not anything that we post or anything. No one knows what comes up.
But
on
it's
here.
interactive.
This is, but not the other ones. Not what you're talking about. Our newscast, our Butch and Bob and sports is recorded. It's not interactive, and then we post that on posted on our website, which automatically sends it to YouTube. But that's not what I consider social media. If that is, everything in the world that anybody does, from a county, from a business, anything else, can be considered social because so much of it is done privately, but then then put on social media. So that's just the way the way it is. We have a Facebook page, we have a Twitter page. But that's social, okay? And that's social, but that's not what he was on. Richard came in here at Bob's request to answer a question about what does the rapid response person do. He answered that question. Answered that question. We recorded that Butch and Bob show like we normally do, just like this one's being recorded, and we put on our webpage at bigdogcountry.com, and people can go to it and click on it, and it's accessed through YouTube. But I just, from doing this for 40-something years and never having this happen before to anybody that's ever been on the show is just something that upsets me as the owner of the station. I do not want people to feel that they can be reprimanded for coming on here. Now, if Richard came on here and said, I want to come on there to talk about the policies of the county, that'd been one thing. I can understand that. But he came on here at Bob's request to answer a question about what does the rapid response person do? He did that. He informed me. He informed Bob. He informed our listeners. Everybody was thankful for it. But then he gets written up for that. And maybe there's something in there that we don't know about. What he said, they could put the county in a legal bind of some sort. But
that's exactly.
But if that's
what
the case,
it
he
is.
said Richard knows, which we will find out eventually.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Bob said he's read the policy 5 times. Well, that's well and good. But if you don't know exactly what was said, and I'm not going to get into that because that is personnel. And I don't want to allude to that any more than, to focus on that. But that's exactly what it is. Y'all just do not understand
no,
what
it's not
was
that we
said.
Don't understand. It's just
it is.
We don't have all the information.
That's exactly what it is. You don't understand what the litigation is about and what was said that could possibly hurt the county, and that's what we're out here for, is the best interest of the county and the taxpayers to avoid a lawsuit. And any county employee that's going to talk about county business has got to understand that there is a policy and procedure in place that has to be followed, and you're held to a different standard. And when you speak or comment or whatever on those social medias, radio, whatever it is, you have to watch what you say. Exactly what I have to do myself.
So he said something accidentally that he didn't know he had messed up, and he got reprimanded for it. Is that correct?
Say that again.
That he said something in the commissioner's eyes, that he said something he didn't know he said wrong. He didn't come over here to say anything wrong. He came here to answer our questions about rapid response. But somehow through that conversation, he said something that y'all saw as not relating to just answering the question about rapid response. It had something to do different from that put y'all at maybe risk. Is that correct?
What he said was, and I'm not going to get into what he said, but I'm saying he broke social media policy. Whether y'all think you're on social media or not, you're on YouTube.
No,
either way, what
media.
We are doing is anybody that works for the county cannot say anything that adversely affects the efficiency and effectiveness, especially with litigation. You're held to a higher standard.
But do you think he did that by accident? Do you think that he was just just trying to give his opinions about how he would like to see the EMS go and with the ambulances and with the rapid response? Do you think he did that on purpose, or do you think it just kind of came out and then next thing you know, I'm in trouble?
Well, it doesn't matter if it was an accident or not. If you're not wearing your seatbelt, we have a seatbelt policy. If you forget to put your seatbelt on, and you say, "Oh, well, I forgot," do we just let that slide, or do we hold them accountable to the policy because they didn't have their seatbelt on?
I don't know. Have you ever been pulled over by a policeman and say, "Yeah, you need to put that seatbelt on," and they don't write you up, or maybe you were speeding a little bit, or maybe you did an illegal lane change and they said, "Hey, watch it next time. Next time, you won't write you up."
Well, he was not fired. He was written up. That's the same thing. If you're written, there's a difference in being written up and fired. Being written up is held accountable to whatever policies we have. That's where we're at. Mm-hmm. The new commission is accountability, and that's where it's at. We do not want any information divulged to the public. I don't care where it's at. I don't care if it's on the telephone. If it's something to do with litigation that could possibly hurt this county and the taxpayers and make them have to pay more in taxes or whatever to compensate for the policies that we have on insurance, if that's divulged, then there will be consequences.
Okay, so it had to do with his brief comments about saying something about litigation. It's what got him written up. Is that correct?
That's exactly right.
That's what I need to know.
And where it was divulged at, when it's given out on the radio and things like that, you are opening yourself up to problems, and that's why it happened. Whether
he made a mistake,
whether he
was written up,
whether you understand it or Bob understands it or anybody
understand it. I understand it. I just want to know what the exact thing was, and it's because he mentioned the litigation, and he shouldn't have done that. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly right. That's what I've been saying the whole time.
No, you've been saying because he was on social media. But that's what he was written up, is because he mentioned something. It was just briefly. He just said, we don't want to put ourselves in a situation again of being to go through litigation. that was more than what he should have said. Is that correct?
I don't know about that portion, but either way, it was just
that was the only part he said about it.
Leave it at that. It was, when you give information out about litigation, it could possibly hurt the case that we have for the county.
I understand that completely, Kevin. But I understand why you did what you did.
Hey, Bob, are you still listening? Bob left about 5 minutes ago. Bob, are you still listening?
Now, do y'all have a policy at the county that like it was years ago, that if a person gets written up twice, they're automatically let go?
I do not know.
You do not know. It used to be that way.
Well, and it's probably still in place because I don't remember in the last 4 years changing that. But we're not out to bash anybody. We're just holding them accountable to protect the citizens of Wayne County, and we want to make sure that information's not given out. It's nothing personal against any single person. If you look at, I had a whole page of things. Are we going to get to go over? Because I know
we're way over already.
I know it. Well, so can I go ahead and go through some of the positive things? Good. All right, so the things that the county is working on, to get back on a positive note, we're working on the ISO. We had a change in the ISO ratings for the county to where it was a 5-mile radius, and now it's 5 miles driving time. So several of the commissioners have been working on volunteer fire stations to post those around so that we can get the ISO ratings for over 200 citizens to get their insurance down. And the ISO rating is just based on something from the state. I'm not real sure on that, and I'm not an expert on it, but I do know the volunteer fire stations that we're putting out now. They've already bought the land. They're also trying to we've already approved the buildings, and we're just working on getting those put up. We're working on the baseball fields in Odom and Scriven to get them revamped. They have been neglected, and we've approved money to help provide some of the funds for fixing the fields and the lighting and things like that, and those to get the children, get the kids and all out of the house so that they can enjoy baseball. Bob, you'll be able to work over there some. They're not going to really have games. They're going to have more practice over there. Because and that alleviates some of the tension off of the ball field out here so that they can play games and they don't have to schedule practices out there. We're working on website for the county. It's being updated so that we can get more information out to the public, such as a schedule for when our county commissioner meetings are coming on. The new industrial park, we're working diligently on it to try to get it into place with the utilities and the road work and things like that so that we'll have some spots available for those industries that are wanting to come in. High-speed internet, as you know, has been placed throughout the county, mostly on the I call it the left side. I guess it would be the south side of the county more so, and then the next phase will be the north side of the county. Several department heads are working diligently on cutting their budget for the upcoming year so that we can possibly lower the millage rate to a point where people can enjoy to live here without being burdened with so much taxes, especially due to the inflation and things like that have gone on. Looking forward to working with our new administrator. I want to give Amanda Hanna a shout out because of the great job she's done. She just, everything she does as county clerk, interim administrator, she does not quit, and she wants everything to be perfect in the things she does. We don't know how lucky the county is to have her as an employee and her dedication to the job. The new administrator is going to work well with her. I think he's going to bring an integrity, accountability, and unity to the commission, which is something we have not had for a while, and that way we can get the county focused on where we need to go and the direction that the current county commissioners want this county to go.
Okay.
I sure do.
You think you'll get enough volunteers for all these volunteer fire department? I mean, everybody's having troubles filling positions these days. I hope we have enough volunteers.
Yeah, we did implement a $599 amount to give to some of those volunteer firemen.
Why $599? Why not just say $600?
Taxes.
Oh, you trust taxes? Okay.
Yeah, we don't have to get it.
It's the same way with giving away prizes on the radio and stuff like that. I knew what it was. I just want to see it.
Yeah, you want to see if I knew it? Yeah.
I knew you knew. I just wanted you to tell. I didn't want to say it over there. I wanted you to say it over there because I'm not the. I didn't want to speak for the county.
Well, it causes a lot more paperwork when you go over you go 600 or more, and that way it made it easier, and the volunteers wanted that. They have to meet certain criteria to be eligible for that money,
right.
And that criteria is not only keeping up your status, but also showing up to a certain number of fires, a certain number of meetings, and that way it just promotes it and gives them a little bit of a compensation for what they do. We don't realize how fortunate we are to have these volunteer firemen.
Very fortunate.
That come in and actually donate their time, and now we can give them a little bit of their gas money with inflation and things like that. And I would like to say, if anybody is interested in becoming a volunteer fireman, you can call 912-427-5900, and you can get all the information you need to become a volunteer fireman, or to at least start the process and figure out if that's a route you want to go. We have a lot of these. All the first responders and the volunteer firemen, they all just have a heart for Wayne County and a heart for people, and that's all. We are fortunate that we have that many here that are willing to do that. And if you are interested in that or feel like that may be where your heart's leading you, 912-427-5900, and they can get you on the right path.
All right. Just hats off to the commission. I think y'all did a great job of picking the new county administrator.
Thank you.
I think he's going to do a fantastic job, and we look forward to good things with the county for the years to come.
Yep. Thank you very much. I appreciate y'all letting us come on the radio and get out some of this information and get some of the questions answered. I hate
That's
it.
what this show is for.
That's right.
Part of it.
Yep.
Most of it's just for us people to come on here and promote stuff and talk about stuff and stuff like that. But sometimes we have these controversial issues that we have to go into.
That's right.
All right. Kevin, you have a good day.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye. And Bob had to leave early because he's got head up to Lovett High School to get ready to broadcast that baseball game.
I saw him turning red.
Yeah, he had to go. All right. Take care, Kevin. All right, the world-famous Butch and Bob Show here on WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, brought to you by First Southern Bank, by Van's Barbecue, by Murphy Builder Supply, and by O'Quinn & Associates.